Recording in progress.
The regular meeting of the Milton Board of Zoning Appeals for April 18th, 2023 has been called to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 on our agenda this evening is introduction of board members, starting to my left.
Billy Carmen.
I'm Laura Bentley.
Adam Danella.
Hodge Patel.
Don Kurtz.
And Zach Stafford.
David Jackson is not here this evening. Item 4 on our agenda this evening is approval of the agenda for this evening. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's meeting minutes as published by the City of Milton. We have a second?
Just to be clear, agenda or minutes?
Agenda,
The agenda.
Okay.
second.
Well, not yet.
Did you
When
second?
people go speak.
Oh, okay.
So we've got a motion by Hodge to approve tonight's agenda as published by the City of Milton, and a second by Adam. Is there any discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. And Item 5 on our agenda is approval of the past meeting minutes. I'll open the floor for a motion and a second to approve the March 21st, 2023 meeting minutes as published by the City of Milton and recirculated on April 17th.
So I'd like to make a motion to amend the meeting minutes from last meeting based on just a slight correction that was discussed.
Were they already revised?
Yeah, they were circulated for 17, so
Yeah.
they were updated.
Okay.
So it was on one of the motions. It was just we had Don voting twice. So the correction is on the amendment
Yes.
to the minutes is on, let's see, motion.
You're looking to approve the version that was circulated on April 17th?
Not the ones that were in here, correct? So
Right.
can I just make it, okay?
The ones that were circulated
Okay.
yesterday, the versions.
So I'd like to amend the motion to include the minutes that were circulated on yesterday, 4/17.
I think just simply a motion to approve the minutes as circulated on 4/17.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes that were circulated on 4/17.
Second. We've got a motion and a motion from Laura, a second from Hodge to approve the meeting minutes from March 21st, 2023 that were recirculated by the City of Milton on April 17th. Is there any discussion? I'll call for a vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
And I abstained from that because I wasn't here.
And Zach has abstained. Item 6 on our agenda this evening is consideration of primary variances. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these 4 considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and a substantial justice is done. The first primary variance this evening is V23-05-14655 Glen Creek Way. Michael, please present.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Evening.
Property address is 14665 Glen Creek Way, and the applicant is seeking the following variance: to allow an existing accessory structure to encroach the 50-foot rear setback requirement by 41.6 feet, section 64-416D. The site is a 2.17 acre parcel located in the Shadowwood Farm subdivision shown in Exhibit A. Property is zone AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay district. Applicable setbacks for the lot are 60-foot front, 50-foot rear, and 25-foot side. The applicant is requesting to allow an existing accessory structure to encroach the 50-foot rear setback requirement by 8.4 feet. The site plan shown in Exhibit B details the lot as square in shape and has a depth of 316 feet and a width of 306 feet. There are state waters located in the northeastern corner of the property, along with a 20-foot drainage easement. The topography map shown in Exhibit C, here is a more zoomed-in version of the site plan showing the existing garage addition that's attached to the house that is currently going through the permitting process, and then in yellow is the existing detached garage that's been there since the 1980s. The topography map shown in Exhibit C details the property has a 55-foot drop in grade, sloping in an upward direction from the street. The existing single-family home was built in 1984, and per the applicant's letter of appeal, he believes the accessory structure was built during that same time frame. The Fulton County aerial map that tracks all the way back to the year 2000 shows the accessory structure existed prior to the incorporation of the city. In November 2022, the applicant was issued a stop work order by Milton Code Enforcement for building an attached garage without a community development approved building permit. The complete building permit submittal was received by community development in December 2022. During the first building permit review period, zoning staff discovered that the existing accessory structure in the rear of the property, shown here, did not meet the 50-foot rear setback requirement, and the applicant would need to seek a variance to move forward with the building permit submittal. Again, the green is the attached garage addition that's currently under construction that began construction without first obtaining permits. Here's the adjacent neighbor map shown in Exhibit D, and they have support from all surrounding property owners: 14655, 14660, 14670, 15675 Glen Creek Way, and 14608 and 14612 Timber Point. And here is the existing accessory structure. You can see the shadow right here where my hand is, just above it. And here are the letters of support. Here's the view to the west, view to the east, view to the north and south. Here's a view from Glen Creek Way, and you can clearly see the upward 55 feet in topography from the street as it travels back towards the house in the accessory structure right here. And this picture is from the front of the house looking downward towards the street where the existing drainage easement and stream are located. Here's the photo of the shed/detached garage seeking the variance. And finally, here's the proposed attached garage addition that received a stop work order. This addition is not seeking a variance. The DRB met on April 11th and had the following comments. The DRB recommends approval of this variance request. The structure was built prior to incorporation of the city, and bringing the structure into compliance was supported by the DRB. It was acknowledged that the applicant had support from all bordering property owners. If approved, staff recommends the following conditions. Per the boundary survey from Terminus Land Surveying and Services received on March 6, 2023 by the Community Development Department. Provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the attached garage addition. Any comments or questions for staff?
Is there an HOA associated with this property?
Yeah, from talking to the applicant, I believe he said it was a non-active HOA, but I'll let him expand on that. because we always recommend getting HOA support for all variance requests.
And can you go back to the site plan or the boundary survey that you showed us?
Mhm.
So there's I believe, a concrete approach in front of the accessory structure. Is that something that we would need to approve as well, or how does, that's in the setback area? That's why I'm asking the
No,
question.
yeah, good question. Yeah, the zoning manager, I all looked at it. We just considered it part of the driveway because it's
Okay.
just, when I was out there, it was just literally part of the driveway. So it doesn't need a variance.
And the accessory structure is in reasonable condition?
Yes.
Is, okay, and
It is.
do you know if it's actively being used?
Yeah, from talking to the applicant, it's used for storage,
Okay.
but it does have garage doors on it. So maybe back in the 80s, it was used as a maybe park cars. But yeah, from talking to the applicant, it's used for storage
Okay.
and other accessories.
There's nothing like a bathroom or anything in it? In the,
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Well, I'll let him expand on that if there's any other.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. We'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make an opening presentation, public comment from anyone wishing to speak in favor, as well as a closing statement from the applicant if time permits. There'll also be 10 minutes available for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Would you please state your name and address for the record? And please, in your presentation, address the 4 conditions that we need to consider in reviewing and approving your application.
I don't have this memorized, so apologize. So my name's Andy Young. I live at 14665 Glen Creek Way here in Milton, and I'm here with my wife, Jill. And we're 17-year residents of Milton. Our youngest just graduated from Cambridge, and we wanted to stay in the community, and we found this kind of fixer-upper farmhouse, and we've been in the process of doing that. We've made a faux pas with the new garage. We were trying to rectify that. Going through the processes when we discovered that there was an issue with this existing structure, which I have a satellite image that indicates it was there in 1992. So that's as far back as I could find Google Earth. So it probably was built at the same time in the 80s. There is no restroom or anything, no water in there. It's just there is electrical inside the structure. I use it currently it's kind of a mess in there, but the plan is to use it as a storage for lawn. And it's actually kind of subdivided. There's actually a workshop that I'm planning to kind of renovate, and I do woodworking, so we're going to do that in there. I spoke to, at the staff's recommendation, spoke to all of our 6 boundary neighbors. They all immediately, unconditionally were great with it, and it's actually a great opportunity to meet my neighbors because we're kind of a little bit of an isolated community. Everybody's stuck behind trees, so it was good to get out and meet them. But there were no issues from any of the neighbors. The structure is well maintained. It looks good. It looks presentable from the street. In terms of, so the 4 issues are, I don't believe, given the fact that all 6 of our neighbors have signed off that they were okay with the structure. I don't believe it's causing any harm to the community, certainly in our neighborhood. There is only one place on this property where the building could actually have been built, which is probably why it was built that way in the 80s. And it's right where it is, because as soon as you leave that garage area, it is straight downhill to the street. So even if we wanted to move it, we wouldn't have a place to move it to. And I actually bought the house and mainly because of that, so I could do my woodworking, and the house is actually kind of small. We moved from a big house to a little house, so I needed that structure as part of my kind of decision-making process. So I would hate to lose it. We actually, the previous owner, we kind of inherited a mess. The city may know about this, but the previous owner like clear cut a bunch of trees on the property, and we came in and bought the house and didn't know that there was a lot of legal issues with the city, and we came in and cleaned up all of it, to my knowledge, to the city's satisfaction, and went way above and beyond. We put in river rock streams to divert the water gracefully into the stream. When we got it, it was just a piles of dirt everywhere and chips from the trees that had been cut down. And we just kind of took care of all that. Didn't really need to be told to do that. We plan to live here for 20 years or until I'm no longer able to live on my own. So we really are invested in the community, invested in the property, and we'll do whatever it takes to, always do the right thing. So I'm sure I must have missed one or two of your 4 items that you're looking for.
I think you've covered them. Question for you. Is there an HOA and is it active?
No.
Is there an
there
approval
is-
process?
I was actually surprised that there was actually a subdivision name. It's not even a sign it's a 1-street subdivision, I guess,
Okay.
off of Francis Road. And there's no sign that says Shadowwood Farms or anything. You have to look on Fulton County website to even understand that there is technically a subdivision, but there is no HOA and there's no money that we contribute in any way to that.
Thanks. Any additional questions for the applicant? Thanks, I appreciate it. If you'd like, you can have a seat, and we'll call you back up for closing remarks if you'd like to make those. Michael, do we have anybody else wishing to speak in favor on this application?
We do not.
Do we have anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
No.
Sir, if you'd like to come make any closing statements, you're welcome to do that. We've got about 6 minutes left.
I think I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Are there any questions for staff before I close the public portion of the meeting? I'll close the public portion of the meeting for V2305, and I'll make a motion to approve V2305 14665 Glen Creek Way to allow an existing accessory structure to encroach in the 50-foot rear setback requirement by 41.6 feet with 2 conditions. The first condition being, per the boundary survey from Terminus Land Surveying and Services received on March 6, 2023 by the Community Development Department. The second condition being to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the attached garage addition.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion from Hodge and a second from Billy with the 2 conditions that are outlined in the presentation. Open up for discussion.
Yeah, I think it does hit all four criteria. Personally, I usually I want to make sure when these boundary line issues are there that it's all good with the neighbors, and I think the relief granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. I think there's a hardship with where this potentially could go on the property, which makes sense based on what he was saying, that it was put where it was put when it was built. And so that usually being the more difficult issue, here is dissatisfied, then I think, all the surrounding properties have approved to have that there. And I think that substantial justice is done, and there's no public safety or health issues that we would see by leaving it in its place.
I agree with your comments, Adam. It's built in probably around the 80s at some point, and the applicant has the support of the adjacent property owners. Any other discussion? I'll call for a motion to approve V2305 with 2 conditions. Per the boundary survey from Terminus Land Surveying and Services received on March 6, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And the second condition, to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process on the attached garage or the garage addition. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and continue to work with the city. Second primary variance this evening is V23-06, 2410 Saddle Springs Drive. Michael, please present.
property address is 2410 Saddle Springs Drive, and the applicant is seeking the following variances: to allow an existing single-family home and concrete patio to remain in the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-42612, to allow a proposed new deck to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-4262, and finally, to allow a proposed new pool to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-4262. The site is a 3.97 acre parcel located in the Sunnybrook Farm subdivision shown in Exhibit A. The property is zoned AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay district. Applicable setbacks for a lot are 60-foot front, 50-foot rear, and 25-foot side. The applicant is seeking variances to allow a proposed new pool to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback and to allow a proposed new deck to encroach the 75-foot impervious setback. The applicant is also requesting to allow the existing single-family home and concrete patio to remain in the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. The as-built survey details the property has a depth of 826 feet and a width of 329 feet. The site overall has a drop of 26 feet in grade, sloping in a downward direction to the state waters that is bisecting the property, where the lowest point of the property is located. The applicant first met with city staff, including the development engineer, in November 2022 to discuss the variance request. The applicant then met with the city staff 2 more times and submitted their variance application on March 7th, 2023. The original pool design for November proposed 454 square feet in the city of Milton 50-foot stream buffer and 1,267 square feet in the 75-foot impervious setback. The current pool design submitted on March 7th has proposed to have 0 square feet in the city of Milton 50-foot stream buffer and 257 feet into the 75-foot impervious setback. That is a total reduction of 454 square feet into the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 1,100 square feet reduction into the 75-foot impervious setback. And this is more detailed in Exhibit D. This is submitted from the applicant, showing in red, this is the original pool design, and the original deck, which is the existing deck that is out there today. And they're taking it completely outside of the 50, the deck right here, and they are taking the pool completely out of the 50 as well, what they were proposing originally. And I want to go back to the exhibit that I kind of put this together, a little illustration showing the 75 right here. You can kind of see how much of the house is engulfed in the 75 and how much is engulfed in the 50. And the red shows the encroachment inside the 75-foot impervious setback for new build. Here's a demolition plan shown in Exhibit E. Here's a water quality plan shown in Exhibit F. Here's adjacent neighbor support. They have support from 2400 Saddle Springs Drive and 23800 Saddle Springs Drive. And I was told today that the applicant reached out to the next door neighbor, which is 2420 Saddle Springs Drive, and they have a letter of support, and they can show that in the overhead when they come up. And here are the existing letters of support. Here's a view to the west, view to the east, view to the north across the street, and view to the south where you can see the actual stream. It's rare sometimes we can actually see water in them, but this one does have water in it. View of the existing home. And the pavers and the existing deck to be removed and rebuilt. The DRB met on April 11th and had the following comments. The DRB recommends approval of this variance request. The DRB acknowledged the applicant has worked with community development staff to reduce the encroachments. Proposed pool and deck encroachments are only located in the 75-foot impervious setback. The existing house and concrete patio predated cityhood. The DRB emphasized getting neighbor support before the BZA meeting. They didn't have any letters of support during the meeting, and so the DRB recommended getting support. And if approved, staff recommends the following conditions. Per the site plan from Crescent View Engineering LLC, received on March 7th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. Water quality treatment to be provided for all new impervious surfaces as determined by the city development engineer through the permitting process. And finally, provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the future pool and deck. Any questions for staff?
I have a question. So the existing deck is going to be demolished and they're going to construct a new deck? Or are they going to modify what's there?
Yeah, they're completely removing the deck. And going back to if you look at the screen,
Okay.
this shows the outline in red of what is existing out there. And they're just rebuilding this black area with the hatches.
Yes.
What's the topography on that side where the pool is going to be for the neighboring property? It looked like it's flat across and then goes up a hill on the other side of the fence. Is that basically what it is?
It does, yeah, it does. It is, you described it correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's flat and it shoots up.
Gotcha.
Michael, I'm sorry, so the existing structure still comes into the buffers, right? To approve that.
Right, yeah. So yeah, when the house was built in 1993,
Right.
the 50-foot city buffer and 75-foot impervious setback did not exist.
Right, so, just so I guess the applicant should understand this, when the city engineer looks at this from the water collection standpoint, might the city engineer be taking into account the existing structure as well in the design of collecting that water? Because that would be, then you'd have a more of an area to abate than just the new, whatever it is, 500 square feet or whatever the small new section is. Because in your statement, it says, let me just make sure I read this right, but something about water abatement for the new impervious surface. The city engineer wouldn't be trying to adapt this to collect water for the old impervious surface that's within the buffers.
My understanding from talking to Jerry about several of these, it's new or replaced. So we wouldn't punish them for existing, but we would hit them for the pool and the replacing the deck.
Okay.
But this condition allows him to have purview to ask for more. If he goes to the permit review and thinks to protect the neighbors and water quality, he can ask for more.
Yeah, but the condition, if we follow what's said, talks about new impervious surfaces. If that's what we're approving, I'm not trying to make this a hard case, but if the city engineer does come back and say that he needs, he comes back and says, I do need to collect all the water from the existing impervious surfaces, I think the applicant needs to understand that would be a possibility.
That's a good point. And it's allowed in the code where he can ask for more. So the condition is just reaffirming what's already in the code.
All right. Thank you.
So, sorry, the side, how far back into the side setback is this going into, or is it?
Yeah, it's 10.6 feet from the side property line.
And what is the side property line?
10 is the maximum it can be for pools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, question for you again on Sunnybrook Farm subdivision. Do we know if that's an active?
Yes, I believe it's the same answer for talking to the applicant. It's a non-active HOA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions for Michael? Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make an opening presentation, public comment from anyone wishing to speak in favor, and a closing statement from the applicant if time permits. We'll also have 10 minutes available for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. The applicant would like to come forward and present their application at this time. Please state your name and address for the record. Additionally, during your presentation, if you can talk about the 4 requirements that we need to take into consideration for the application, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Ashley Barton. I'm with Georgia Classic Pool. I am here for 2410 Saddle Springs Drive. I do have the homeowners here, Kim and Mark McAlpin. Michael touched on all the specifics of our proposal. Again, their house, there's 3 different variances that we're trying to request, and it is to keep that existing house to code. And then now that we are redoing the deck, to bring that to code, and now for the pool as well. So 3 separate variances. You can see our transition from the design when he pulled up this rendering. I just felt that was easy for us to see kind of where we started and where we are now. We did change the pool a lot. We changed the size. We took away pool deck. We took, tanning ledge spa and put it in the pool so that it would decrease the square footage of the pool. So we've done a lot of work over the last year with design. And then as far as just the hardship itself, I think is pretty obvious. The fact that they do have this existing house that was built in the 90s, and now are having this the city that imposed the stream buffers when the city came about, that is taking up all of their rear yards. So it makes it essentially hard for them to do anything back there. I don't think that it is going to cause any harm. I think with the pool, we've decreased the size and put it over to the side. Again, we've had support on both sides for the neighbors. No detriment to neighboring properties. And then I do have the HOA, I'm sorry, there is no HOA approval. I do have the neighbor's approval. I think y'all have one that he proposed in the packet, and then I do have this one. This is from the neighbor on the opposite side that is not next to the pool. We did, I think the homeowner also put a letter and gave it to their neighbor across the street, just because the pool was going to be outside of their house. But there was no response back from them. They're just out of town a lot, I think, so it was hard to get in touch with them. But we did get support from the 2 neighbors. As far as capturing that water, we did have the plan for the rain garden. We initially had a different design, and again, with working back and forth with engineer and Michael, we came up with a water quality device. But as y'all talked about, if Jerry needs us to revise that during permitting, we can definitely do that. I think I touched on everything. As far as erosion control, I will say, we do have the double row silt fence on our erosion plan, hay bales, just to protect any runoff or drainage from construction and going down into the stream. Do you have any questions?
So is the property to the north, did I read that that's owned by the same?
It's a family member, not
Okay.
owned directly by them, but yeah.
Okay, so they're aware, and you have the approval of all your adjacent neighbors. So, and then also on the double silt fence, is that something that you typically do when you're close to streams?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we do.
thank you.
Michael, can you put the site plan up that shows the 3 iterations?
This one, or do you want the?
The first one you had up there. Keep going the other way, sorry.
Way. There you go.
That one there, yep.
Okay.
So that right there displays the 3 versions that were presented.
This is just the original,
The original
and the last.
and the last,
There was a few versions in between, but I just wanted to show the beginning and the
Okay.
end where we came up.
And so when you presented this to the adjacent property owners, they saw the last version that was
Yes,
coming before us. Okay.
yes, yeah.
And I have a question while this is up.
Mhm.
Y'all were talking about, obviously, iterations in designing the pool. Was there ever a thought that if you took the shape of this pool and rotated it counterclockwise 180 degrees, that notch out would then be at the bottom left side, which would create, again, less of an impact into that 75-foot buffer. So why, maybe, did y'all do that is the first question. And one, why would you not try that?
I guess we were just trying to, I mean, we did not try that version. We were trying to get as much square footage out. We didn't turn it that way just from preference, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we felt like getting all of that out from what we did from the original was pretty significant, and just, I guess, out of personal preference and design, we just kept it that way.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
I have a question. There's no, like, any kind of structure going to be built out by the pool for like a kitchen or
No.
pergola type thing?
No, it's just the pool. There is, as you can see, like a wall, but it's out of the buffer on the other side of the pool. But no accessory structures or anything outside of just that deck work.
Is just dropping in grade over there is what you're doing, a retaining wall around it? Is that what it's?
Yeah, it's just like a 2-foot wall. I believe it was 2 foot. It was a small retaining wall just to kind of level that out over there.
Can you point out the location on the pool equipment?
It is, well, it's not probably shown on that rendering on the site plan, but it is, oh, can I touch this?
It's on this.
Yeah, okay.
Right here. That's the corner of the
By
house,
back
on the
part of
right,
the house.
right back corner.
Right that corner, okay.
It's right there. Yeah.
Is that where the HVAC is as well for the house? Over there in
I
the
think
corner?
the HVAC is on the other side.
Oh, I see it there. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's, well, as you can see from the original deck red outline, that's the section of deck that we're removing.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Thanks, I appreciate it. Michael, do we have anybody else wishing to speak in support?
We do not.
We do not. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
No.
No. You've got about 7 minutes left. If you'd like to come back up and make any closing remarks, you can certainly do that. Does the board have any additional questions for staff?
Well, I have, just to address Adams about swinging the pool around. From looking at this survey, the driveway is like there. And if you literally slipped it around, it would push it farther back into the,
And I'm talking about just flipping it completely around. Not same facing.
yeah,
It would be the same essential facing. It would just, the notch would be down here at the bottom.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Do you have any questions for staff before we close the public portion? I will close the public portion of the 2306 2410 Saddle Springs Drive, the public comment portion of that, and open the floor for a motion and a second.
I will make a motion to approve the 23-06 to allow an existing single-family home and concrete patio to remain in the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Also to allow a proposed new deck to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback, and to allow a proposed new pool to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback with the following conditions recommended by staff per the site plan from Crescent View Engineering LLC received on March 7th, 2023. Second condition, that the water quality treatment be provided for all new impervious surfaces as determined by the city development engineer. And the third, to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the future pool and deck.
Second. We've got a motion by Laura, second by Hodge, on the 23-06 with the three conditions. Opening it up for discussion. Laura, since you made the motion.
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss it. I feel like on this one, the existing house that was built in, 1993, is sitting in the 75-foot impervious setback. Can't change that. Your new construction is outside of the stream buffer, which is probably not going to offend the spirit and intent of the ordinance. I find that since the house was built in the stream buffer, that's an extraordinary situation that was not caused by the applicant. Good that you went to your neighbors and there is no opposition. Also, that a family member owns the adjacent and most affected parcel. Finally, health, safety, and welfare is secured. I like the idea of the rain garden and the double silt fence, and along with the staff provided conditions, I think justice is done. So those are my reasons.
Yeah, Laura, I agree with a lot of the comments that you made. The applicant has worked with the city extensively in terms of moving the location. Typically, we would see that pool much closer to the house. There's some challenges on the site. I think the applicant came forward with a really good plan to minimize the impact. We can't do anything about the home. It's an existing structure. It's been there before cityhood. And so I feel substantial justice is being done. We have the support of the adjacent property owners as well.
I agree with all your comments, but I would suggest a slight change in that condition about water treatment. You know, we're trying to protect streams, whether a house has been there or not been there. I'm not suggesting anything in terms of moving the house or anything like that, but I would suggest taking just two words out of this statement. It says water quality treatment to be provided, and take out the words all new. So it would read water quality treatment to be provided for impervious surfaces as determined by the city engineer. Just to not put restrictions in the variance that say, I mean, just, you know, down the road, somebody looks back and said, I'm not going to do any abatement for, you know, all this stuff running from an existing house into the stream because this variance said I only had to do this for new surfaces. So I would suggest just taking out those two words and just say, provide water quality treatment to be provided for impervious surfaces as determined by the city engineer. That would be my suggestion.
Paul, do I need to open up public comment to ask you a question in terms of that condition and tweaking it?
If you want an answer to go into the record, you would need to reopen the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm going to have a question too.
I'd like to make a motion to reopen the public portion of the meeting so that we can seek guidance from city attorney.
Second.
Got a motion from Hodge and a second from Laura to open the public portion of the meeting to request additional information from the city attorney. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Paul, can you give us your input on the comments that Don made requesting language, whether we exclude all new and what level of enforcement that provides for the city?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean my opinion on it.
Well, your guidance on, do we need to look at that verbiage in there and exclude it?
I think the typical conditions are to be added to protect against the deleterious effects of the variance being granted. Now, in this case, it does impact, the variance is granted with respect to the existing structure. I think the city engineer is going to have authority to address this in the permitting process. I think adding, if you want to make sure that it is considered in this case, it might make sense to expressly take out the all new, but I think he will have the ability to look at that when he does do his review.
Would it make more sense to leave it as it's read and then to add another condition that is water quality treatment to be provided for the current structures on the property?
You might consider saying for all new and existing.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I have, this is more for Michael, so I'm just trying to understand when water, when we have a big water event and water is, needs to be controlled and stay on the property. I mean, Jerry's job is to look at what's happening, both of these variances, and contain the water. So separating everything, he's going to look at this holistically. Is that correct? We're granting a variance for the house. I don't know, engineering wise, are you going to be able to separate it anyway? Isn't it going to be addressed as a whole?
My interpretation, the latter. And there's some things that kind of what the applicant's saying, the double row silt fence, that's already required within 200 feet of a stream. So she says she's going to do it, but it's required by GWSCC standards. Certain things are required when you're that close to the stream that Jerry will have purview over.
So, and that's what he does when he goes out there and does his site checks and.
Right, to prevent as much runoff into the stream and water quality.
Okay. Do you, modifying this language, since it's your recommended condition, are you okay with that?
I don't have an issue with amending it, but every time I have one of these, I sit down with Jerry and he reviews what is going in the staff report. So he was comfortable with what is before you, but I don't really see him having an opposition with the amended, but this was Jerry's condition.
Okay.
Any additional questions for the staff or the attorney? I'll go ahead and I'll close the public portion. And Paul, do we need to restate the motion, or can we?
Well, the motion is on the table and
Okay.
So it has to be,
but
we have to vote on that or
we're in discussion
modify it.
actually on it.
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of what we just discussed on that second point, I feel comfortable with the language that was presented by the city as a recommendation to change it, and I feel they've got the ability to go ahead and address whatever they need to in terms of water quality on that part of their permitting process. I know Don was saying that maybe we should look at removing new and putting in existing, or saying new and existing.
No, everybody seems to think that Jerry / the city engineer will have the ability to do that, so then I guess I don't have a concern.
Okay, no.
I don't think the existing, nothing's going to change what's coming off of that house that's going into that creek. So I don't really think we need to change it and just do the new stuff, because that's where all your grading is going to be done and all your ground disturbance is going to be. The house is what it is, and nothing's going to change there. So I think the way it's written is fine, as long as the city, when they inspect, they.
It sounds like we're covered either way.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's covered either way, that's what makes me comfortable. If that's what's going to happen, that's fine with me. If it means we leave it the way it says or add new and existing, as long as it's covered that the city's going to make a decision as to where the water's flowing and how much water's flowing either off the house or the pool area or wherever, and they're going to recommend flow wells in certain places, even if they're not shown on here, then I'm comfortable with that. If the way she read that language does not do that, then I would prefer to have it as all new and existing. That's the way I would rather see it, if that's the case. But Michael, you're comfortable that they're going to do what they,
Yes.
no
yeah.
matter what.
Correct. Jerry could say, we want 4 more flow wells added to the rain garden, but he doesn't do that full review to the permitting process, but he has a purview to do so.
Any other comments and discussion? Okay, I will call for a vote on V23-06-2410 Saddle Springs Drive. We had a motion by Laura and a second by Hodge. I'll read through the variances here. To allow an existing single-family home and concrete patio to remain in the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. The second variance is to allow a proposed pool deck to encroach in the 75-foot impervious setback. The third variance request is to allow a proposed new pool to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback with 3 conditions. The first condition being per the site plan from Crescent View Engineering LLC received on March 7th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. The second condition, water quality treatment to be provided for all new impervious surfaces as determined by the City of Milton or City Development Engineer through the permitting process. And the third condition, to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the future pool and deck. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you and continue to work with the city. Third primary variance this evening is V23-07-3240 Francis Road. Michael, please present.
The next case is V2307, and the property address is 3240 Francis Road. The applicant is seeking the following variances: to allow an existing single-family home and concrete patio to remain in the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75, wait, this is incorrect. Excuse me.
Francis.
Yeah, okay.
Correction. The variances to be requested are the following: to allow an existing single-family home to encroach a 60-foot front setback requirement by 23.9 feet, section 64416B, to allow an existing single-family home to encroach a 25-foot side step requirement by 10.7 feet, section 64416C1, and finally, to allow an existing accessory structure to encroach the 25-foot side setback requirement by 4.9 feet, section 64416C1. The site is a 1-acre parcel located on the northwest corner of Thompson Road and Franson Road intersection. The property is zone AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay district. Applicable setbacks for the lot are 60-foot front, 50-foot rear, 40-foot side corner, and 25 side interior. The applicant is requesting to allow an existing single-family home to encroach a 60-foot front setback requirement by 23.9 feet and to encroach the 25-foot side setback requirement by 10.7 feet. The applicant is also requesting a variance to allow the existing metal shed to encroach a 25-foot side setback requirement by 4.9 feet. Here's the existing home. And you can see here's the 60-foot front setback, 40-foot side corner setback, 50-foot rear setback, and 25 side interior setback. And here's the metal shed slash, it's wood on the side, but it's metal on the top. And the surveyor labeled it as metal shed. Here's the proposed addition shown in Exhibit B. And here is the proposed room addition and patio that meets setback requirements. Per the applicant's letter of appeal, the applicant bought the property in 2022 with the intent of restoring the former Francis farmhouse while also adding a back patio and room addition. The existing single-family home was built in 1886, and the applicant believes the accessory structure was built during the same time period. The Fulton County aerial map that tracks all the way back to the year 2000 shows the single-family home and metal shed accessory structure existed prior to incorporation of the city. The survey shown in Exhibit A details the lot as rectangular in shape and has a depth of 269 feet and a width of 153 feet. The lot is relatively flat with an overall drop of grade of 14 feet throughout the site. The bordering property owner to the west was built in a similar proximity to the street. Go back to the aerial. As you can see right here, here's the house seeking the variance, and you can see the neighboring property to the west was built in a similar proximity to the street. I can only assume built in the same time frame in the 1800s. The proposed elevations are shown in Exhibit C. The adjacent neighbor map shown in Exhibit D, showing support from 14995 Thompson Road, 16095 Thompson Road, 3225, 3230, and 3280 Francis Road. Here are the letters of support. Here is a view to the west, showing the back of the house we think was built during the same time period. View to the east, across Thompson. Here's a view of the existing home. And view of the accessory structure with wood on the side and metal on the top. Metal roof, excuse me. On April 11th, the DRB recommended the following conditions. The DRB recommends approval of the variance requests. The existing accessory structure and house existed prior to incorporation of the city, and bringing both into compliance was supported by the DRB. It was acknowledged that the applicant has support from bordering property owners and that the applicant is renovating and not demolishing was received favorably. If approved, staff recommends the following conditions. The location of the single-family home and metal shed shall be as shown on the existing conditions survey from Keystone Land Surveying Corporation received on March 7th, 2023 by the Community Development Department, and to provide a foundation survey during the permitting of the future single-family home additions. Questions?
Michael, question for you on the recommended conditions. One of our plans shows a proposed addition. And just to clarify, on the condition that's stated that staff's recommending, that wouldn't be part, that addition would not be part of the site plan.
Correct. And from talking to the applicant, he's still in the works of finalizing the proposed addition, so we didn't want to lock him into a box with his proposed addition.
Okay. Second question for you. In 1880, were there setbacks at all that you're aware of?
That's a great question.
It was a giant farm. There was no road, I bet.
I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe I should ask our new zoning tech who just graduated from planning school. But I do not know the answer to that question.
We go with probably not.
That'd probably be the
My
safer
guess would be the
direction.
big farm.
It was a big old, that was
Yeah.
big farm.
Yeah.
Good. Any additional questions?
Yeah, could you just remind us the reason for the foundation surveys again, just so everybody understands?
So here's the proposed additions. It's going to be right against the 60-foot front setback. So we're encouraging foundation surveys as a condition, so we don't have to come back before you for another variance. 6 months from now when they build it and said, oh, oops, it's over the setback. So
Uh,
we want to make your life easier and have less variances come your way.
Okay, thank you. Good call.
Michael, could you clarify on the foundation survey? Is that survey done when the footings are set, or do you guys do that once the concrete's poured? Like, at what point does that actually
So
happen?
the play is we'd issued the building permit. The contractor would lay the concrete, and then after they lay the concrete, it dries, they measure it to confirm it meets the setback, and then they submit that to us before we allow them to build upward.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Thanks. So we'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make any opening presentations, public comment from anyone wishing to speak in favor, and a closing statement from the applicant. There will also be 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. If the applicant would like to come forward at this time, please state your name and address for the record. And additionally, if you, during your presentation, if you explain how the four considerations apply to the variance you're seeking, we'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Ryan Sather, and I'm the resident at 3240 Francis Road. Bring before you the zoning variance for the existing structure and existing shed. So bought the property in November 2022 with my wife and 2-year-old. We've since had another child. So the addition for the extra bedrooms has become all more important in the last couple months. So our plan was to buy the property and put an addition onto the back. I want to restore the exterior of this property that has been there forever. Everything about Milton and the farm history behind it was kind of led into the purchase of this house. It was kind of always a little bit of a pipe dream to buy an old farmhouse. So now we're ready to get our hands dirty, and I plan on restoring the exterior, new roof, and addition will all be new materials, obviously, but we have a game plan of restoring the entire landscape and elevations to what they were 100 years ago, hopefully, maybe better. So we are in process submitting a permit for the addition, but we wanted to get our ducks in a row with zoning before stepping forward into that other realm. The variance will be for the existing house, which was, like I said, 1886, with additions made in the 30s. I know you guys joked about having no setbacks back in the 1880s. They probably just put houses wherever they fit. And so that the existing structure, basically trying to get a variance for that, with the addition being completely within the variance, doing everything I can to be inside the lines for new construction. The second part of our variance is for the metal shed in the back. The metal shed, believe it or not, even though due to its immense age, they redid a lot of the wood on the exterior, and all the interior joist hangers, all our framing hardware is actually updated on the shed. So it's got a lot more structural integrity than it would have without that care from the previous owner. I purchased the house from the previous owner, who the previous owner before that was the original owner with the last name Francis. So this property dates back to early farm days, which I'm trying to kind of reinvigorate a lot of that with my restoration of the property. Here to answer absolutely any questions you guys have. The only other thing I want to say is I went house by house, neighbor by neighbor, got everybody to sign off, met everybody, and everybody was in full support to give this thing a facelift. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
I have one question about this, the little wood deck and ramp on the side there. What is that?
So the owner previous to me had a handicapped family member. So it's actually a wood frame structure, metal roof. It's basically shed style roof, not a gable, with a long ramp, a wooden ramp. So I will be basically redoing all that into brand new. It'll be a brand new porch, brand new metal roof that matches the roof over the back porch and ties everything in architecturally with the front.
Okay.
Michael, I've got a question for you. So with the metal building in the back, if it were to get damaged at some point in the future, is there a time frame in terms of rebuilding it or anything like that? In terms of what the variance that we're approving?
If the variance is granted, I don't believe there would be a time frame unless you made a condition.
Okay. So I would just want to clarify for you, we can approve it today, but if something were to happen in the future, how does that, and that's what I was asking staff on.
Oh, that, yeah,
for
that makes
guidance
sense.
on that.
Understood.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
Question for Michael, but
Thanks, I appreciate it. If you'd like, you can have a
Absolutely.
seat.
Just for time.
go ahead, Don.
Michael, do we have anyone else wishing to speak in support of this application?
No.
Anyone in opposition wishing to speak?
No.
No. Sir, if you'd like to come back and make any closing remarks, you're welcome to do that. We've got about 8 minutes left. It's completely up to you.
8 minutes.
I have a question
Michael.
for Michael and.
Okay.
I do too, yeah.
Okay.
We can do that now?
Yep.
Oh, we're not making any judgment here or anything relevant to the potential new add-on, right? I mean, this is all for this is for the existing home, allow a single-family home, allow an accessory structure. It's all for the existing stuff. He talked about putting a new bedroom on.
Correct, yes. It's for the
Right.
existing.
Right. So I guess we don't really need a condition on a foundation survey here?
Well, we know that he's going to propose it within pretty close proximity to the 60-foot front setback. We just didn't want to lock him into that because he's going through the building plans right now. But he gave us a ballpark idea where the porch and room addition are going to go. We feel comfortable with the foundation survey because it's likely going to be within a foot or two,
Okay.
the front setback.
All right.
Michael, on that wood deck and ramp, so that looks like it's outside of the setback there, and one of the conditions being recommended is to tie it to this existing conditions survey. So if he removes that ramp and everything, and if he, let's say he wants to build and wrap around the back with a deck or tie into that ramp, whatever he builds has to be within the setback. Is that correct?
Yeah, as shown existing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know about any of the plans about the wood deck or the ramp till just now. Did he say he wanted to expand it or did he?
We're getting rid of the ramp.
Okay. So yeah, that's what I thought you had said. So anything on that side of the house behind, it's going to have to be within the setback. And I can't tell, how many feet that is.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if we condition this tied to the house, just as shown, that ramp will be there for now. But once that's gone, then you've got to stay within the setbacks.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The only question I have.
I will close the public portion of V2307 and open the floor for a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve variance V23-07 to allow an existing single-family home to encroach the 60-foot front setback requirement by 23.9 feet, to allow an existing single-family home to encroach the 25-foot setback requirement by 10.7 feet, to allow an existing accessory structure to encroach the 25-foot side setback requirement by 4.9 feet. And that would be conditioned upon the location of the single-family home and metal shed shall be shown on the existing conditions survey from Keystone Land Surveying, Inc., received on March 7th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And the second condition, to provide a foundation survey during the permitting of the future single-family additions.
Second.
We've got a motion from Adam and a second from Zach on V23-07 with the 3 variances requested to allow an existing single-family home to encroach in a 60-foot setback requirement Second variance is to allow an existing single-family home to encroach in the 25-foot side setback and to allow an existing accessory structure to encroach in the 25-foot side setback requirement with the two conditions. The location of a single-family home and metal shed shall be as shown on the existing condition survey from Keystone Land Surveying, Inc., received on March 7th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And the second condition being to provide a foundation survey during the permitting of the future single-family home additions. Open it up for discussion.
Yeah, just hitting the 4 points. I mean, the relief if granted would not offend the spirit and intent of the ordinance. I don't think it will. I mean, obviously, this is a very old Milton structure and should remain intact. I mean, that's what we're looking for in Milton, and what we're trying to do is to maintain the heritage of Milton. So we appreciate that. Obviously, from a hardship perspective, I look at it as it's an extraordinary and exceptional situation. This property is, and I think that meets that criteria with the age of the home and what you're looking to do with it. It will not cause any substantial detriment to the public good or surrounding properties. And the fourth condition, public safety, health, and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done by approving. So I feel like it met all four, and I think it's a really cool project.
A couple of things. The front setback aligns with the property that's to the left of this home. I think if we were not to improve it, we would probably be doing more detriment. It's a home from the 1800s. Wouldn't want to see that structure removed or harmed in any way. I think we're doing substantial justice by approving all three of these variances with the two conditions. I like the idea of adding the condition on the foundation survey. Since we're already aware that it's going to be pretty close to the setback line, it should eliminate any future requirements for issues with encroachment. Any other points or comments?
I just have a question. I mean, it's borderline being on the 60-foot setback, the new addition. I mean, it's like right at it from, if you're looking at the survey from the back of the house. I mean, suppose the new addition is like 6 inches over. I mean, how's
That
that?
would
survey
be the point
fixes
of the
it.
foundation
Foundation
survey, yeah.
All right, but I mean,
And
it's,
before they start going up,
yeah.
Then they got to cut some
So then
concrete.
that's fine, all right. 'Cause it's real, it's
right
borderline.
at the
so,
concrete.
Okay.
It needs to, yeah.
Right.
So I agree with all the good points that y'all made. And those of us that have been here for a while have driven by that farmhouse for a long time. So I'm happy, welcome to Milton, and thank you. It's going to be beautiful.
Okay, so I will open up for a vote on V23-07. Let me just read through the variance and the conditions that we'll be voting on. To allow an existing single-family home to encroach the 60-foot front setback requirement by 23.9 feet. To allow an existing single-family home to encroach the 25-foot side setback requirement by 10.7 feet. To allow an existing accessory structure to encroach the 25-foot side setback requirement by 4.9 feet with two conditions. And the first condition is the location of the single-family home and metal shed shall be as shown on the existing condition survey from Keystone Land Surveying, Inc., received on March 7th, 2023. By the Community Development Department. And the second condition, to provide a foundation survey during the permitting of the future single-family home additions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Continue to work with the city. Appreciate it. The fourth primary variance this evening is V23-08, 212 Ranchette Road. Michael, please present.
Property address is 212 Ranchette Road, and the applicant is seeking the following variances. to allow a proposed new guest house to be located in the front of the primary single-family home, section 64-1598B5, to allow the existing carport and detached garage to remain in the City of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-42612, to allow the existing hot tub, pool, and pool decking to remain in the 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-4262, to allow the existing detached garage to encroach a 25-foot setback by 10.8 feet, section 64-416C1, and finally, to allow the existing carport to encroach a 25-foot side setback by 23.1 feet, section 64-416C1. Site overall is a 2.8 acre parcel located on the south side of Ranchette Road. The property zone AG1 is located in the rural Milton Overlay District. Applicable setbacks for the lot are 60-foot front, 50-foot rear, and 25-foot side. The applicant is seeking a variance to build a new future guest house in front of the primary single-family home, and is requesting several variances to existing structures that existed prior to incorporation of the City of Milton. The applicant is seeking the following variances for existing structures: to allow the existing carport and detached garage to remain in the City of Milton 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, to allow the existing hot tub, pool, and pool decking to remain in the 75-foot impervious setback, to allow the existing detached garage to remain in the 25-foot side setback by 10.8 feet, and to allow the existing carport to encroach the 25-foot side setback by 23.1 feet. Here's the location of the existing carport, location of the existing detached garage, and here's the location of the existing pool and hot tub inside the buffers. And of course, here's the proposed guest house location in front of the primary structure. The lot is rectangular in shape with a depth of 616 feet and a width of 199 feet. The state waters bisect the property in a diagonal direction. The proposed guest house is to be located completely outside the City of Milton 50-foot undisturbed buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Per the applicant's letter of appeal, the existing single-family home was built in the 1970s and was built parallel to the state waters in along a narrow shape, where the front of the house faces the eastern side property line. The future guest house is proposed to have 1,245 heated square feet and meets the maximum 1,500 heated square feet requirement. Building plans and elevations are shown in Exhibit B. The adjacent neighbor map shown in Exhibit C details they have support from 170, 210, and 240 Ranchette Road. And from talking to the applicant, they reached out to the neighbor to the south, but did not hear back. And he can expand on that. Letters of support. View to the west, which is towards the stream. View to the east. View to the north across the street. And view to the south, showing the detached garage. You can barely make out the carport in the back. Here's a side view of the detached garage. And front view of the carport. And side view of the carport. And here's the location of the future guest house. On April 11th, the DRB met and had the following comments. DRB recommends approval of the variance request. The house and all structures existed prior to incorporation in the city, and bringing them into compliance for setbacks and the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback was supported by the DRB. The property is split by a stream that makes locating the future guest house outside of the stream buffers and not in front of the primary structure difficult. It was acknowledged that the applicant has support from boarding property owners. While the carport is hidden in the back of the property, it does have aluminum siding and a tarp that was not visibly appealing. If approved, staff recommends the following conditions. Per the boundary survey from Boundary Zone Incorporated, received on March 20th, 2023 by the Community Development Department, and to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the future guest house. Questions for staff?
Michael, can you go back to the photo where that structure there and that one there? So if that structure was within the setbacks, is that type of structure something that the city would approve or
Yeah.
permit?
Aluminum siding would not be a approved material
Okay,
for a building.
what would be an approved material?
Great question.
Is it wood, siding?
Wood, yeah, I mean, there's a list in our code of the applicable.
Okay.
Hardy plank. Yeah.
Yeah, hardy plank, something that looks more farmhouse or just meets the standards of Milton that fits in.
I got a question. Michael, for a second, could you put up which is the view that will be facing Ranchette Road of the new structure? Do you know which one that is?
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, the actual building, the new elevation.
Oh, excuse me.
I didn't, okay.
Let me make sure I got that.
Yeah, I'm not sure which,
So west elevation, south.
trying to figure out what's facing
Okay, so
Ranchette
this
Road.
would be the north elevation facing Ranchette, right here. This is what you would see from the street.
Okay. Will this necessarily be reviewed by the city architect? Or do we have to add in a condition? Because this is now going to be the more obvious thing you see from Ranchette Road versus the house, which is more back.
Yes.
So the city architect will review the look of that.
Yeah, that's correct. All structures on a public street will be reviewed by the city architect, and Bob and Shuba typically sit down and review that stuff together.
Okay, thank you.
To piggyback on his question, what about the city arborist in terms of screening? Is that something that would be an additional condition potentially?
Well, everything that comes through is reviewed by everyone, so the canopy requirement, that would all be reviewed as well. So it's just code.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be applicable.
Any additional questions for Michael? Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. We'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make an opening presentation, public comment for anyone wishing to speak in support, as well as time for a closing statement if the applicant would like. There will also be 10 minutes of public comment for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Will the applicant please come forward at this time and present their application? Sir, please state your name and address for the record. Additionally, if
Michael Roper, 5460 Conway Drive, Marietta, Georgia.
thanks. In your presentation, can you touch on the 4 points?
I can't, I wear hearing aids.
I'm
I
sorry.
can't really hear that well.
Can you touch on the 4 points or conditions that we need to consider on the application?
Well, say the existing structures that were there were built in the 1970s when there was a 25-foot stream buffer. They've been there since the house was built originally. I think his father had built the house originally. And the tarp that you're seeing right now is because he covered his boat up this winter. But as far as the buildings back in the back, I mean, they've been there forever. I don't, and they're really, because it's the elevation in the back and the back properties, you really can't even see these structures that well. But as far as where we're building, we can't build anywhere else. And this house is unique because it actually faces the side yard setback. It's weird because it's not facing the road. The neighbor across the street has built a similar thing, I guess about 7 years ago, built another garage the same way in front of their house, one that has approved what we're doing. We're trying to stay in, with the architect drew this so it matches the house, so it looks perfect. Everything looks the same. I wouldn't even be building this if it was something that's going to look out of place. I just wouldn't take the project on. But as far as his daughter's going to live there, she's going to school and stuff. And that's, they want her to move into this structure. But we're trying to, make it as nice and appealing for Milton as possible. But as far as the building itself, it's sitting because of the creek and stuff. We've had to put a new septic system in already. And we're having to, the confines of that septic system is dictating where we can put this building. There is no other place to put it on this lot.
Michael, can you put up the survey and then point out where the existing septic system is in relation to the house and the proposed guest house?
Here's the septic fields right here, in between the proposed guest house and the existing single-family home.
And that was permitted by Fulton County already. We've already had the permits and all that, and already had that finished. And it is, it was a pain to put this in because we've had to stay out of the confines of that 75-foot buffer with them also, So we're like in a real tight spot.
I have a question. The septic system, is this for the original house or is this for the
We had
new?
to put a whole new system in.
Where is the proposed system for the new structure?
It's in between the house and the structure.
So there's going to be two systems in that area.
Well, it's all combined. There's 3 tanks in all, which we had to do this for Fulton County. So we have an existing tank, but it didn't have one of those dividers in it. So they made us put 2 more tanks in that have the divider in it for solids and stuff. So we did that, and then also because we didn't want to have to, we had that 75-foot mark there. We couldn't go down. Plus, it'd be wiping out a lot of trees, and we didn't. I'm not a big fan of taking out trees and stuff. But this is the only place you can put it is in between these 2 houses.
So my question is the new structure will be tying into the existing.
Correct.
drain
The
field.
new septic system.
So real quick, going back, the tarp in the picture, obviously the DRB had an issue with it. Is that just on the boats or is that hanging from the?
It's just hanging down. He was trying to keep his stuff off his boat.
Okay.
I think you take it down already. He's already took it down because somebody in the other meeting said something about it.
And the other issue is, obviously the city doesn't allow the metal siding on the structure. Is it carport, I guess, right?
Correct.
Is that 3 sides? Is that what it is? 3 sides got metal siding or aluminum siding? Just 2 sides? Just the sides? Okay.
I think
And would you be opposed to a requirement that would have those sides removed and then replaced with something that is more would look, I guess, or yeah, you can come answer if you want to. Would you be opposed to some condition that we said, hey, look, we want to remove the aluminum, want you to remove the aluminum siding and replace it with something other than aluminum, something that fits within the current code?
Can you quickly state your name and address for the record? This is being recorded.
My name is
Thanks.
Phil Poovey, and I'm the resident at 212 Ranchette Road. I'm the homeowner. I would not be opposed because it's just a simple metal shed that my boat's parked under. It's towards the back of my property and it's well behind my neighbor's house as well. So nobody can really see it, so I don't really see the point in doing that. But if you guys felt that was important, it's not a big deal to me.
What is the surrounding topography? I mean, are y'all up or down, or what's it look like out there in the back?
The back
towards
goes
that,
straight
where
up,
those,
and then the other one is elevated by about like 8 feet or so.
if you're standing back
Property to
there where the
left.
carport and garage is, is it up and then goes downhill with trees, or where's your?
It's
What's the view shed there?
it sits kind of up and then it falls off to the right and it's level to the left. And my neighbor's lot's just like ours. It's a long rectangle and it's all wooded back there. So, and they don't have anything built back there. And so it's already,
Like if you come to the house, it goes back down a hill, down towards the creek. And that's why they were wanting us to get a variance on that, but you really honestly don't see the structure. Until you get up to the house, you would never even see the house. You would not, unless you went right past the middle of the house, you won't even see the structure from the road.
Both of
Can't
them in the
even see
back,
it.
the two in the back.
Yeah, it's way back in the back. And then the neighbors behind there, there's a lot between them and then the house up on the hill, and they can't really even see down into this lot from up where they're looking. You can't really see it.
Sure.
Like I said, if you pass the house, then you'll see it. But if you're out in the street, you'll never see it.
How long have you owned the home?
I inherited it 4 or 5 years ago. My parents were the ones who built in the late 70s there. And so my dad, actually designed the house. And, they lived there since the late 70s. And my dad passed away maybe 6 years ago. And then my mom passed away about 4 years ago. And that's when we inherited the house.
So the structure that Adam was referring to, how long has that been there approximately? Is that something that your parents had put in when they owned the property?
It was done when my parents owned the property. I can't tell you exactly
Yeah,
when. It's
okay.
not something that I added.
Okay.
From the look of it, from a building standpoint, it looks very old. I mean, it looks like from the 70s. I mean, I haven't seen that kind of stuff in forever.
I would be the one who was most concerned about the appearance of that shed. I mean, if I felt like it looked bad, I would take it down. But, it's just so far behind my property, nobody really sees it when they're visiting our house. You have to walk back there. So, it's just not something I've considered as far as taking it down or modifying it.
And you use it on the regular, though, it looks like, having your boats in it?
I do.
And is it, so is it gravel
Still
floor,
don't know how
dirt
he gets the
floor?
boat back there.
What's the
Not
surface?
easy.
What's the surface the boat's being parked on? Is it gravel? Is it
It's gravel.
gravel? Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant? Thanks. If you'd like to have a seat, we'll call you up for some closing remarks here shortly.
Thank you.
Michael, do we have anyone wishing to speak in favor?
No.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
No.
No. If you'd like to come back up, sorry about that, make any closing statements, you're welcome to do that.
I don't think we had anything else.
Okay. Adam, you said you had a question for.
Just, so in the instance that's a gravel parking structure or his structure back there that he parks his boats in, if something, it's obviously we're granting the requested variance for that. If we grant it, something happens to the structure, can they replace it in that location? Or because it doesn't have a concrete pad, or is it automatically now no longer able to be built in that same space? I don't know. Maybe that's a you question too.
I missed
It's
a
okay.
middle.
So the carport that sits within the setback, and it's a gravel carport. If something were to happen to that it has to be removed because it's gravel and not a pad, and let's say we do grant the variance to keep that there, could they rebuild on it if, for instance, something happened to it and he had to change it, modify it, tear it down? Could he rebuild on there?
I think
With
if
it
you're
being
concerned
gravel.
about it, you should address what you want. You can make it either way in how you word the approval. If the approval says to allow an existing structure, then a new structure would not necessarily do it. If you wanted to specifically say, but no replacement, then I would include that as a condition as well.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out if something were to happen to it and he had to.
Well,
would
I
he
mean,
be
yeah,
able to build it
you're
back,
granting
I
a
guess.
variance to
Point is the
allow.
point. If it's that old and something were to happen to it, can he build back in that same space? If it's gravel, then the answer, I guess, is no.
Well, I don't know that the gravel has anything to do with it.
Well, you would need a building permit to put in a concrete pad, and that would require approval. I mean,
Put up if you just.
Correct. I mean, I don't know if not having a foundation makes it any less of a structure from community development standpoint.
Right.
You would still have to go through permitting.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my understanding would be if like a tree fell on it and damaged it and they had to rebuild it, they would have to get a permit to rebuild anything back there. So that would probably kick out the variance. Or would that have anything to do with it? A new permit, would they be able to build it back where it was, or would they have to move it outside the setback?
I think it has to do with the percentage of damage to the structure.
Well, I know if when you change things on like a deck or whatever, I understand you have to bring it up to code. If something happened to that structure, it would have to be, if they rebuild it or repair it, it would have to be brought up to code. It's my understanding. So they would have to get a permit for that. And when they applied for the permit for that, would this variance approve the new permit? Do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
My always understanding of the 50% rule of damage to rebuild was outside the scope of a variance. I always thought if the variance is granted, they could rebuild it if a tree falls on it and more than 50% is damaged.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's 60%, but
Thank you.
yes.
Okay.
If it's approved, the existing structure can remain. Then actually, the 60% only goes to a non-conforming structure. So an existing structure without a variance. So if you didn't grant the variance and the existing structure was allowed to stay as a non-conforming, then this rule would apply. And if it was damaged more than 60%, then it could not be replaced. Repairs could be made, but it couldn't be replaced. And repairs versus replacement is based on that 60% number. If it becomes a legal use, it could be replaced unless you put a condition on it that says only this exact structure. I think it's been done, I remember a couple of times maybe.
That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of some things that we had where there was a pad and there was some renovation of an old structure that
like an
was
old
in the
barn.
setback that, you couldn't build outside of the concrete pad that was already there. That was what I was thinking, and that's what made me think of this. I was just trying to figure that out because
Existing footprint?
yeah, the existing footprint issue. If there's no existing footprint, and for whatever reason,
Footprint isn't tied to concrete pad necessarily. It's a good indicator of what the footprint is. Because they're building on it, but technically the footprint would be, measured by a survey. It could be measured by the surveyor showing it's exactly this point to this point to this point to this point, regardless of what the foundation is.
Gotcha.
But the foundation is likely to pretty much mirror what the footprint is. If you get there, I'll be happy to work with you on what you want it to be.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine where the conditions that are.
Do we have any additional questions for staff before I close public portion of the meeting? Okay, V 23-08, 212 Ranchette Road. I'll close the public portion of the meeting and open the floor for a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve V 2308 to allow a proposed new guest house to be located in front of the primary single-family home, to allow the existing carport and detached garage to remain in the City of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer, and 75-foot impervious setback to allow the existing hot tub, pool, and pool decking to remain in the 75-foot impervious setback to allow the existing detached garage to encroach the 25 side setback by 10.8 feet to allow the existing carport to encroach the 25-foot setback by 23.1 feet with the staff recommended condition of, per the boundary survey from Boundary Zone, Inc., received on March 20th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And the second part is to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the future guest house. And my comments as far as.
We need a second on your motion
Oh, sorry.
first.
Second.
We got a motion from Laura and a second from Adam on V23-08.
Yeah.
Open it up for discussion.
Thank you. I was just going to point out that the 4 variances are on the existing structures that have been there since the 70s, it sounds like. The new, anything new would be compliant. For me, the extraordinary condition that was not caused by the applicant is that the home was built so near to the stream back in the 70s when I believe that was just a 25-foot state buffer. Relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good. You've gotten approval from your neighbors, and I'm satisfied that no one is in opposition to any of those structures. I think they would be here if they were. And finally, the health, safety, and welfare are secured with these great staff conditions. Those are my comments.
Yeah, I would agree with Laura. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the property. I think it's really good, and it's nice of you to build a sweet place for your daughter to live during school. Yeah, right. It's very, very, very nice of you.
Remember, that does not set a precedent.
A couple things that I'll add is that the site has some challenges in terms of topography, the location of the existing septic, and the proposed location for that guest house to be in the front, I think is probably the best location overall based on the topography of the site. You got the support of the adjacent property owners, and I believe we're serving public safety, health, and welfare are being secured by supporting this application. Any other comments? Okay. I will put this up for a vote. Bear with me. We've got a couple items that we need to read through. On petition number V23-08, 212 Ranchette Road, we've got a total of 5 variances in the motion that was by Laura and a second by Adam to allow a proposed new guest house to be located in the front of the primary single-family home, to allow the existing carport and detached garage to remain in the city of Milton's 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, to allow the existing hot tub, pool, and pool decking to remain in the 75-foot impervious setback, to allow the existing detached garage to encroach in the 25-foot side setback by 10.8 feet, allow the existing carport to encroach in the 25-foot side setback by 23.1 feet with 2 conditions. The first condition being per the boundary survey from Boundary Zone, Inc., received on March 20th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And the second condition to provide a foundation survey during the permitting process of the future guest house. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you and continue to work with the city staff. Item 7 on our agenda is consideration of appeals and secondary variances.
None?
Item 8, old business.
None.
Item 9, new business.
None.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We get a motion from Adam, a second from Laura to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none. Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Nice job on those reports, y'all.
Yeah.